What does it mean to spoil your vote in the Irish presidential election? How do you spoil a vote? Why would you want to spoil your vote? And what will happen if people spoil their votes in large numbers? I'm here to explain all of that and more in this quick video. And to be clear, I'm not encouraging you to spoil your vote necessarily. That's not my job to tell you how to vote. If you want to vote properly, I did a whole 8-minute video on how to do just that, which you can view here. I'm just explaining how spoiled votes actually work to equip you with more information and help you to make your own decision. So for starters, why are people talking about spoiling their votes? There's currently a campaign underway encouraging voters to deliberately spoil their ballots in Friday's presidential election. This is to send a protest message to the government and the political class more broadly over the way that this election has been run. The argument goes like this. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil both made a concerted effort to block any other independent candidates from getting on the ballot, and this resulted in a 3-horse race between 2 government candidates and a left-wing socialist candidate, with all other perspectives totally excluded from the discussion. Moreover, one of the government candidates was forced to drop out amid major scandals, leaving an even narrower 2-horse race, which many people aren't particularly thrilled about, to put it mildly. According to one Irish Times poll, almost half of voters say they don't feel represented in this election at all. And so some of these voters have said, well, I don't like either of the 2 candidates on offer, so I'm not going to give them my support. And if I just stay home and don't vote, then I have no voice at all and I'm ignored. Whereas I can go in on the day and spoil my ballot by writing in my preferred candidate's name or none of the above or something, and then that will show my disapproval. And then at least I'm part of the process. You're saying, I'm here, I exist, I'm not just a bot on social media, I'm a registered Irish voter, but I reject the options that you're giving me and sending a message of defiance to the state. That's the reasoning that people are giving for why they're spoiling their vote. But what exactly is a spoiled vote? A spoiled vote is simply where the ballot is filled out incorrectly and therefore the vote is considered invalid and doesn't help any of the candidates on offer. This can be done by accident, by somebody who just doesn't know how to vote and fills in the paper incorrectly, or it can be done on purpose to send a protest and to basically say, none of the above, I don't like any of you, a pox on all your houses. Contrary to what some people might tell you, it's perfectly legal and legitimate to spoil your vote. Your ballot is yours and you can fill it out however you want. It's not against the rules and you won't get in trouble for doing it. And also, spoiled ballots are counted and put aside. So we do know exactly how many spoiled votes there are in each election. For example, in the last presidential election in 2018, there were 18,438 spoiled ballots exactly. So if you do decide to spoil your ballot, it will be recorded with the total tally. We will get a figure at the end of how many people chose to do this. So how do you spoil a vote if you want to do it? You could spoil it in a number of ways. You could draw a smiley face on the ballot. This vote is now spoiled because you've messed with it. You could put an X through all of the candidates. Again, spoiled. You could write in a new candidate name like Mickey Mouse, which would spoil it. But if you really want to protest, the clearest way to do that, which is open to the least confusion, is to write in your preferred candidate or to write none of the above, because then it's obvious what you're saying. There's no doubt that you're sending a protest message. So what would it mean if lots of people decided to do this? Will it overturn the election? Will the government be forced to elect a different candidate if enough people spoil their ballots? Well, no, it won't do any of that. One of the 2 candidates on offer will get elected whether you spoil your ballot or not. But depending on how big the spoiled vote share is, it could have a secondary effect, because historically in previous presidential elections, very few people tend to spoil their ballot. It's generally 0.5% or 1% of votes get spoiled, a very small number, and most of those are by accident. So if a huge chunk of the electorate, let's say 10% of people, suddenly said, that's it, we're spoiling our votes because we reject the whole political establishment, establishment, that would be a big news story and it would send a strong message. Currently, according to the polls, 6% of people are planning to spoil, which, if accurate, will be the highest spoiled vote share in the history of the state when it comes to presidential elections. So as a symbolic way to voice your discontent, it certainly could have some sort of effect. But as I say, your vote is your own, the election's on Friday and the ball's in your court. This opportunity only comes around once every 7 years, so choose wisely whatever you do.